Dust off your back, don't look back. Give all the dollars, you know a fake heart attack. 'Cause you were made for this. You can feel it inside your bones. You were made for this, and it's time you let the world know who you are, what you know, what's happening right now. So
Introduction by myself. My name is Ryu Kowano Suleon. As introduced, I am currently the CEO of a company called Veritrans. Quick introduction about Veritrans. Basically, Veritrans is an online payment gateway that's currently operating in Indonesia. Imagine us basically as kind of like the breakthrough payment Stripe of Indonesia. Basically, we help merchants accept payments online. Please don't get us wrong with basically PayPal, because basically PayPal is a payment method. I'm a payment platform. So basically what I do is, you can't pay with Veritrans. What I do is basically integrate with a variety of payment types, payment methods in Indonesia to allow them to integrate to the merchants that I work with. And so because of my position as a payment platform, I get to work with a lot of different payment methods, credit cards, internet banking, e-money. They all basically integrate to my platform before they get integrated to the merchants. Because of that, basically, I get a lot of insight as to which payment methods are actually currently being popular in Indonesia, which payments are not, and which payment methods are actually, it's going to be, up and coming over the next couple of years. So, So basically, before I talk about the different payment methods that are currently available in Indonesia, I actually want to talk about what is a good payment method. A good payment method to me is basically something that balances security and usability. So basically, a good payment method to me is a payment method that basically balances between usability and security, right? Even if you have if you have a highly secure payment system, but if you had to go through 100 steps and 100 types of verification, it doesn't mean anything. So basically, for me, I think usability is actually very, very important. One of the things that, from my personal experience, I think back in about 2 years ago, I was in the US and the iPad 3 came out, and I was really, really excited. I was thinking about buying it. But the problem was that basically, when I went up and when I ordered online, and I put in my credit card details, I basically was right about to basically press the button to basically pay. I decided I need to go to the bathroom. I went to the bathroom, and basically, while I was in the bathroom, I was thinking, okay, why am I buying an iPad 3? I'm buying an iPad 3 because of the Retina display. So afterwards, what I did was I had an iPad 2, so on my way back from the bathroom to pay for my iPad 3, I went to see my iPad 2 and looked very, very closely into it and to see whether I could tell the difference between could see the pixel or not, because that was what was amazing about the Retina display, right? I couldn't tell the pixel. I went back to my screen and basically I canceled my order. The reason I'm telling this story is because basically if you make payments so damn difficult, if you really make, if you make the payment process too long, you would have significant dropout rates. That's why usability is so damn important. Click. And so what I did was basically, to basically measure the usability of different payment methods in Indonesia, what I did was I looked at two different metrics. One was basically number of fields. Number of fields I defined as basically the number of buttons, number of inputs that you need to put in to basically complete the payment. Click. And then the other thing that we looked at was number of screens. So number of screens mean, well, how many different screens did you have to look at to complete the payment? Basically, every time you redirect, every time you look at a different screen. For example, let's say you get an SMS notification on your cell phone, that is a screen. So basically, I said, okay, a good payment method is basically one that basically minimizes number of screens and number of fields, right? The best payment method, I think, is one that basically doesn't require any input, nor requires seeing anything. So basically, it's beyond one-click payment. It's not one click. It's basically just you think about paying and done. You're done. Click. So when I charted basically the different payment types in Indonesia to this, click. You have credit cards. Basically, this normal credit cards. You have basically 4 different screens and 16 different fields that you need to enter. Click. you have credit card with 3DS. This is the 3D secure transactions. When you do 3D secure, basically, the number of steps increase or number of screens increase, but because you don't have to put in the billing information, it basically reduces the number of fields. Click. And these are all the different payment-based internet banking solutions by the different banks. Notice the size of the circles. The size of the circle basically denotes the user size in Indonesia. As you see, basically, while the internet banking solutions are abundant, it seems like every bank has one. The number of users for each individual payment method is still very, very minimal. Click. There's also Tcash and Excel Tunai, as well as other e-money solutions. Caspay right there is one solution. But the problem with those is that yes, it is very useful. It's actually very easy to pay. But if you don't have any user, what's the use? So what is the most common payment form right now in Indonesia? It's ATMs. But as you could see right here is that ATM as a usability, it's terrible. Because if you look at the number of screens that you need to look at, the number of fields you need to enter, the number of buttons you need to press, it's just ridiculous compared to the other payment methods that are available. Click. And actually, like I said, the ultimate payment method, and where I feel that everything needs to go into this payment method is basically one click. You want to go to the bottom left as much as possible and stay away from the bottom right. And I think as the e-commerce market in Indonesia develops, I truly believe that as the Indonesian e-commerce market develops, and as people become more comfortable with buying online, basically you would see that the payment methods that are on the bottom left will become more and more popular. Click. Because basically the problem with ATM is that basically, let's say you're buying online with ATM method, click. You have to go outside, right? You have to go outside, line up to the ATM, and pay. It's just terrible. So, click. So for me, I feel that basically, like I said, payments will move from the high security ones, the most manual ones like bank transfer, over to credit cards and internet banking and other online solutions. Currently, basically, this is a chart I created from talking and discussing with various e-commerce players in Indonesia. Right now, I feel that basically, roughly about 65% of the population basically utilizes bank transfer. Credit cards still very, very limited, 15%. 90% uses online banking. When I mean online banking, BCA, the internet banking solutions created by BCA, BNI, and whatnot, and click. And if you deal with basically the younger segment, so basically the fresh grad and a college student, basically the portion of payments done through manual bank transfer is still very, very significant. And you see that basically credit cards and online banking and e-money is just not there. However, what's interesting is that basically, click, if you target a different segment of the market, basically the 28 to 30-year-old, basically the yuppies, I call them, the young professionals, the young mothers, whatnot, you would see that basically that portion of the population is slowly and rapidly adopting credit card and online banking. I think this is going to continue, right? Because basically these population, the people, basically they don't have the time to go to the ATM to make the payments. And I think more and more, basically you would see credit card, online banking, and online payment methods is going to be predominant in Indonesia. And why is this so important? Because basically if you have a structure like this, if the only payment options are and the most popular payment method is ATM, e-commerce companies in Indonesia are going to have a difficult time scaling. And this is just from a discussion that I had with a bunch of people. I get to meet with a bunch of e-commerce companies from all over the world. And when I ask someone from the US and Japan, like, look, what's your, to create a company which generate $1 million in revenue, an e-commerce company, how many people do you have in your team? 10 to 20, right? And a similar sized company, basically $1 million in revenue, click, in Indonesia, how many people would they have? 50 to 100. Ask around, your friends that are in e-commerce. If they have $1 million in revenue, most likely they have 50 to 100 people. Why is that? Why in the US and Japan can they get away with 10 to 20 people, whereas in Indonesia you need 50 to 100? It just doesn't make sense. Is it because Indonesians are stupider? Is it because they don't have enough education? Is it because Indonesians are lazy? And that's why you need more people? I don't think so. I think basically, I think what I've learned and what I've found is that basically Indonesian employees and Indonesian team members are as efficient and are as efficient as their counterparts overseas. What is the difference between the US, Japan, and basically Indonesia is the infrastructure in place. Click. So let's just assume, basically let's say you have $1 million in revenue and basically you have 10,000 customers every month. In Japan, basically the payment gateway or basically the payment system in Japan is so efficient that 99.97%, the reliability of the payment gateway is 99.97% of the time. Sorry, that's the reliability of the payment. The SLA is 99.97%, which means basically out of 10,000 transactions, because the payment gateway was unreliable, there's roughly only about 3 transactions that fail. Click. And if you think about it, well, if there's 3 transactions that fail, well, some people are going to complain, hey, look, why is my transaction being canceled when my credit card, is valid? I have enough, my limit's not broken, I put in the right number, but why did I get a decline? So 1 to 2 people complaining. In Indonesia, basically, the payment gateways before Veritrans came in, and this is why I created Veritrans or PT Midtrans, is because before we came in, the reliability of payment gateways in Indonesia is roughly about 98%. 90% does not seem like a bad number. It doesn't seem like a bad number if you only have 100 customers or only about 100 transactions a month, right? But imagine if you have 10,000 customers, that basically means there are 200 failed transactions every month. 200 failed transactions, imagine basically that same people, some of them are going to complain. There's going to be 100 people complaining. You see the scale? In the US and Japan, basically the management team only needs to worry about 1 to 2 people complaining because of the payment gateway problem. Indonesia, before Veritrans came in, basically 100 people complained. Look, my transaction was declined, I put in the right credit card number, why I was, blah, 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 blah. And basically, it is just a nightmare. And I think that is the key of basically, how e-commerce is going to, grow in Indonesia. The key to Indonesian e-commerce for growing is basically to have more infrastructure players like us to come in to increase the reliability. Because by increasing reliability, we could allow the management team of these e-commerce companies to focus not on customer support and complaint handling, but on the core engines of growth. Click. So, when I think about e-commerce, I talk with a lot of people. When I think about e-commerce, there's roughly about 4 pillars I think about. And there's payments, that basically, without payments, e-commerce doesn't work. There's the online advertising market, basically, basically that helps allow e-commerce companies to market their product. There's logistics, and there's also internet infrastructure. Now, these 4 pillars each have their own issues. If I said payments in the US and Japan had 99.97% reliability versus 98% in Indonesia, well, that's true for other portions, like, for example, logistics and internet infrastructure. And as Veritrans, basically, what I wanted to do is basically, focus just on payments, solve the payment problem, increasing reliability, so that basically e-commerce in Indonesia can grow. So that's it. I mean, it's a very, very short presentation. I didn't want to spend 20 minutes of your time basically talking about payments because it is kind of boring. So I kind of made it short and succinct. But feel free to ask me any more questions. If you do, later on, I'll be around. Well, is there a Q&A session? No, right? Because it's Keynote, right? So basically, if you have any questions, feel free to grab me. But thank you so much, and hopefully my slides were helpful. Thank you. Bye.